right, switching it up a little bit. Got Rick Leach, President and CEO of GoJet Airlines. Terry Basham, Chief Operating Officer, GoJet Airline. We're here to talk about regional airlines. We talk about GoJet. Why don't you give a little background, one of you, on GoJet before we get started? Some might not know what you are.
GoJet Airlines, regional airline, been around since 2005. Terry and I and our team founded the airline back in 2005, so we're original members of the airline. Of course, I've been with the overall company for 37 years, the holding company and so forth, which GoJet's part of. Terry for a long time as well, so we've been together. But we fly for United today. Historically, we've also flown for Delta Airlines, as mainly with the CRJ product, and we're currently flying the CRJ 550, based in St. Louis, Missouri, but we fly out of the hubs in Chicago, Newark, and Dulles. It's a premium class 50-seater that we designed and certified on behalf of United Airlines. So it's an exciting project.
Gotcha, nice. So, you know, one of the big things you all have out there right now is that captain bonus, that direct entry captain bonus. It's very lucrative, very competitive compared to the industry standard. What made you all make that decision to put that out there?
There was an opportunity with, there were some stumbles that went on in the industry of late that created a period of opportunity where there was a little bit of a pause in the significant hiring that was taking place that created turnover, especially at the captain levels, which is what's been a sort of a restriction within the regionals here over the last few years. So we found the opportunity with a few month period that we could maybe build some momentum, and we wanted to make a big statement. We have a lot of growth to put in the air, a lot of exciting growth at GoJet, almost doubling the size of the carrier. And so we put it out there. You never know. It's a success-based program, so you never know how it's going to work. But it has been very successful. Terry can maybe give a little more specifics on it, but it's been very successful.
Oh, yeah, it's been a great hiring summer for captains, direct entry captains, and that's really what's driving the constraining the regional industry until recently was the availability of captains. After COVID, we had a drain in the regional industry of captains moving on to their final career, United, Delta, American, Southwest, around. So, but with the state of the industry today, a little bit of breathing room, and we've been able to recruit quite a few direct entry captains.
Gotcha. So you kind of talked a little bit about it, but the scale is kind of tipped a little bit because, you know, during COVID, there was a desperate need everywhere for first officers. Has that kind of, obviously it has, but has it kind of changed a little bit on your end to pivot more towards really needing captains, really needing that left seat filled?
It has changed. I mean, the industry, out of necessity, has responded in a big way to what you'd call the return on investment of becoming a first officer and a pilot in the commercial side of the industry. The barriers to entry are great. I mean, the Regional Airline Association, with Terry and I are both active. We do a lot of work on the Hill in Washington in trying to make sure we get support to make sure that the pipeline remains healthy and full. But there was a challenge with first officers because the return on investment, the cost of them having to go out and still build upwards of almost 1,000 hours or more on top of their 4-year or 2-year college programs in some cases, or even through the flight school programs where they have to build a full 1,500 hours, it's very expensive.
Right.
And so it became an elitist type of group in many cases, so the pipeline dried up. As the pay rates increased and the return on investment got to be significantly more, there's been this influx. I mean, Terry and I travel around speaking to schools all over the country, and they're starting to be full. But those folks that are going into class here, beginning their journey, it's going to take them, 3, in some cases 4 or more years to build the time that they need before they come to us. So the classes are full, the interest is there, we're seeing better candidates than we historically have seen. That's exciting, but you need to patch a first officer with a captain.
Right.
As those people leave, the industry hasn't been healthy enough to get enough first officers to get that 1,000 hours of 121 time they need to produce enough to generate the overages we need to not only just cover the turnover, but cover, in our case, growth. So
are there any, obviously, did you have something to add to that?
No, I think the good news is there's a lot of, the flight schools are full. Prior to COVID, we visited a lot of flight schools, and we found a very high percentage of foreign pilots that cannot legally fly in the U.S.
Right.
Because the interest and the barriers were so great. So that has improved since COVID, the flight schools are full, and a lot of American citizens that are able to fly for us.
Right. So, oh gosh, there's been so many headlines in the past couple years about pilot hiring, but have you guys seen any other workforce constraints? I mean, maintenance, is that one that's kind of emerging? You know, I've heard of some murmurings about that, you know, getting good A&Ps in the door has been a challenge, or is that something you all are seeing at all? Or?
Oh, we totally see it. I don't think there's an airline out there that doesn't experience that. It has not been as pronounced as the pilots, of which we're, you know, I'm not saying coming out of it, but we're definitely seeing a trend upwards in recovery there. But on the technician side, it's just getting folks, young guys and gals, interested in going into that line of work, supporting airlines from a maintenance and a tech ops perspective. It's heavily needed. It's a very desirous career once they get into it. It's very rewarding, but it's also just getting the folks interested. There's so many other things for young people to decide what to do, and they're not focused on becoming an A&P mechanic. We're doing a little better than most, but we still are always out there swinging, trying to get good talent in the door.
Yeah, we've developed a couple of apprentice programs, and they've been very successful. We take a non-skilled person, take them all the way through to get their A&P, and then continue to work for GoJet for a period of time. It's really trying to find that person out there that wants to get their hands dirty.
Right.
They're greasy and dirty.
Turn the old
mechanic,
right,
exactly.
right.
You're not playing on an iPad or a laptop
Yeah.
or doing a computer. So
It's great.
They're out there, though.
It's great to have those pilots, but you need that mechanic first.
You do.
Or the pilot have nothing to fly.
Yeah. So, speaking of maintenance, you know, you all went out and opened an MRO facility in St. Louis, right? Again, what kind of drove you all to make that decision? Because not many regional airlines have done something like that serves other, clients.
Not only many regional airlines, but not many airlines.
Yeah, right.
There's only a couple 121s.
Right.
I think Envoy has one, but they don't use it like we do or planning to. Delta has one.
Yep.
I think that's about it almost, but there might be a few more. But we're one of the very, very few. Look, we've always done. We have a very talented core maintenance group. We've always done our own heavy maintenance. It's been a focus of ours. We think we do it the best, and we can do it in a way that we can monitor quality throughout the entire process. Not that the MROs that we used in the past weren't that, but it's a lot of work overseeing them as well. We do a great job ourselves, and we saw that we were maintaining the core group. We started these programs, like Terry said, the apprentice program, where we were able to bring in talent and groom them in the proper ways of being a 121 mechanic, and therefore, it allowed us to say, hey, look, we had people asking us to do some heavy work for them because they knew that we did our own. And we thought we wanted to formalize that, get our 145, which we successfully did here just a few months ago. And I'll be honest with you, the demand is great. There's more demand than there is room at the inn right now, because we have a lot of work because we're growing a lot right now. But we are providing services to a lot of our regional friends out there, and we're anxious to do more. So we'll look at how to be a good 121 carrier for our partners, but also a good 145 MRO support station for our industry partners as well.
Right. Yep. So, it's no secret that during COVID, regional airlines parked quite a bit of airplanes. And are you guys seeing that improving now that the pilot hiring tempo is kind of improved?
We are seeing improvement. There was parking of aircraft and severely underutilized aircraft, of which there's a mixture of both.
Yeah.
A lot of the aircraft that we parked were aircraft that hadn't really flown for us yet. We were developing and modifying the 700 into the 550, so we were out there acquiring assets that we just never got into the air.
Right.
We are, originally, early in the year, we thought we might get maybe 2 to 4 aircraft out. We're targeting as many as 14 aircraft coming out between now and the first quarter of next year. So I would say the answer is an exclamation point, yes. And we're excited about what we're seeing. A lot of that's through the efforts of our captain recruiting.
So my last question for you is kind of around small community air service. Regionals, huge in small communities. And, us folks who live in major cities, we kind of might take it for granted. I do, where I'm like, I can get a flight anywhere. But if you live in a smaller town, it's hard. And it's no secret, again, during COVID, a lot of small communities lost air service. Do you see that maybe improving as well in the next 10 years or so?
At the end of the day, it's going to be highest and best use for the limited assets that you have. And obviously our assets are still limited, they're still not fully utilized, they're still not all in the air yet, even though we're seeing a recovery.
Right.
At the end of the day, we're going to have, and possibly in some cases, because a lot of the smaller carriers, smaller turboprop operators have sort of gone by the wayside because they're challenging and struggling as well with the competitiveness of the 121 environment on the regional side. So I believe there's going to be some recovery, but if all those dots are going to come back on the map, it's going to be hard because the size aircraft that are being flown by regionals today, 50-seaters and up, and in our case, a premium class 50-seater might not work in all markets. It might be work for just transportation, but might not have the proper revenue or premium mix for that kind of an asset to fly there. So you got to match those two things together so the math adds up and works. Look, we want those points to get back. They are a very lifeline that helps generate the need for those wide bodies that fly all over our country and the world. And so that feed network needs to remain strong. I am hopeful that we're going to see a resurgence of a lot of that capacity coming back. We got a long way to go because there was a lot that has been lost in the last 10 years, but especially through COVID, but a lot in the last 10 years, really, since the 1,500-hour rule.
So, as part of the FAA Reauthorization Act, whatever that passed, feels like so long ago now, they put a little more money.
But it passed.
It did. That's the important part, right? It
passed.
put a little more stability into the industry. But, they put a little more money in the Essential Air Service program. Again, regionals have enormous part of that. Do you think that, because there was a time during COVID again that it was challenging for even some regionals to operate these contracts. Do you think that improves with a little more money in these programs to help out?
I think it improves, but I don't want to say that some regional carriers are heavily invested into that program, and it is a very important program in some of these key communities smaller communities around our country. But again, it's going to be highest and best use. There's still a lot we got to make sure we gain back within the core muscle of what the network is. And then once you sign up for EAS, it's a long-term commitment too. You don't just come in and go out.
Right.
So you've got to make sure that's what you want to do, that's what you want to be. And there are carriers that do it very well and they have resources to do that. And so, I think the funding of EAS and the increased funding now to support what's probably going to have to be a larger aircraft, a regional jet, a standard 50-seater probably in most cases, flying to those points, you're going to need that additional funding.
Yeah.
We'll just have to see, but I think it's going to be it's a good thing for sure. EAS needs to be healthy. These communities do need to be tied into the transportation network, and that gives them access to the world for commerce and stuff within their communities. It's very important. So my hope is the answer to your question is yes.
Yeah.
That we don't play in that environment today. We have historically throughout our history done that over the years, but not today.
Gotcha. Well, thanks guys. Thanks for talking about regional airlines. Thanks for coming to talk about GoJet. Really appreciate you all.
Honor to be here.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.